Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech stuff, science stuff. We make fun of tech billionaires, usual tech type stuff. I am historian Matt. I got a couple of topics to go over. We have a secret crypto mine was taken down up in Massachusetts, and AI generated comic loses US copyright. That's a follow up to a previous story. HK is out on an adventure. So Dave, what do you got?
Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm the producer of the show and many other shows. This week I have seems like Google destroyed some evidence that they needed to keep for an antitrust case, or at least that's what that's what's being claimed. And it looks like Elon wants out of a consent decree that was making him run his tweets by a Tesla securities attorney, and the Securities and Exchange Commission is not going to grant him that, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, go figure. But coming back to mine, when I get the stuff back up, my first story is on a secret crypto mine taken down in Massachusetts. So just real quick overview. The former town employee of Cohasset, Massachusetts, I assume that's how you pronounce it, is accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of electricity from a local middle/high school for a crypto mining operation. Anyways, the mine was found in December of 2021, so it was a while back. But the lawsuits, there's some lawsuits going on, still going. And they think that about $18,000 worth of electricity was stolen. There's more to it, but that's the most important things. What do you think, Dave?
I saw that story, and I saw a funny the Register had it. It was like, "Don't blame the kids." That was the title of it. So I bet I
think when I first saw this, I thought like a kid had done it. I didn't realize it was an employee.
Yeah, I imagine when they first found it being a high school, I imagine they probably initially thought it might have been one of the kids, right? That would be what I'd think. But yeah, it was one of the employees. $18,000 in electricity. That's a lot of electricity.
Yeah, it's estimated. I don't know if they know exactly how much, because I'm sure it wasn't on a separate counter or whatever it's called.
Right. They just had to guess based on what the power draw of it is and and their estimate of how long it was there. Do we know how long it was there? Because it looks like it was found in 2021.
It sounded like it was there a while, and they only found it because some other maintenance guy was looking around in some back rooms or something and noticed some extra ducts apparently that were not supposed to be there, or
ventilation
didn't recognize, and so he started going in some of the back. I guess it was all in I don't know what it's called.
Did you see that?
Just get catted.
Did you see that? I just got catted. That's the second time that's happened. I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I know that this is the people listening on the podcast have no idea what just happened. Go watch the video. A giant cat just fell on me, and then I'm sorry for interrupting, Matt. The cat's sorry too. The cat's sorry too.
But what was the thing? Oh, so I guess it was all in a crawl space, I think is what they said. So most of the mine was in a crawl space. So they didn't know about it until somebody actually went in there. And of course, nobody goes there regularly. And it was just from accident. So who knows how long it was there? I mean, they probably have an idea just based on if they look at their electricity usage. But I don't remember it saying in this article or not.
Well, that's crazy. And I mean, I guess finding it in 2021, it was still maybe a good idea to be doing that. This is before the crash, right?
I think the crypto market peaked in November 2021. So if he had just, it's kind of funny if he had kept all of the coins that he mined up until that point and sold it, then he might have been able to pay off the electricity and still made a good profit from it.
Well, except he's I don't think he's just being asked to pay back the electricity. I think he's
probably not.
It's probably going to be some criminal charges. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got next?
Oh yeah, I guess go on to my next topic when I bring it up. So AI generated comic loses U.S. copyright. I covered this a while ago when we were talking about AI generated images and a comic book that was generated entirely with AI image generator. So and just basically what happened is the U.S. Copyright Office came to a conclusion. So last week, the U.S. Copyright Office declared the images created for the comic book Zara of the Dawn, I think that's how it's pronounced, should not have been given copyright protection. Only the text will be covered and the arrangement of images will be covered, but the individual images will not be covered by copyright. The comic book used Midjourney to generate all the images. The author, Chris Castanova, didn't disclose initially that the images were created by Midjourney when applying for the original copyright. I think the Copyright Office figured it out when she posted on not TikTok, some social media account. They figured it out and they're like, hey, you can't do that. So this was a case that a lot of people were following in the AI industry to see what happened. And it's kind of good news, bad news kind of thing, because the actual individual images can't be copyrighted according to the Copyright Office. But, still, if you're writing a comic book, the writing itself is copyrightable and the arrangement of images. So it still doesn't mean somebody can just take your comic book and start sharing it everywhere, right? You're giving it away for free. What do you think, Dave?
It sounds like the decision was reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I didn't go into depth and I didn't write all this out in my notes, but the article itself said that the artist was, or the original writer who sent everything through the AI generator Midjourney, actually had a defense that I thought was, it was the same thing I was thinking, and I thought was pretty solid, which is basically, well, she didn't make the actual images, but she still had to come up with the text that was sent to the generator to generate the image. And I don't know if you've played with the AI generators that much, but that's not easy to do. I actually am very impressed that she was able to make an entire comic book this way, because I can barely get one image to come out right on these AI generators. But yeah, I mean, that's a skill too. And it's very similar to the way that if you write a software program, the software is written in a computer language that's then compiled into machine code the computer can understand. It's a very similar kind of process. It's just not AI.
Yeah.
But the office rejected it. I'm guessing this is going to become a lawsuit and it'll be decided in the courts. Finally, I don't think this is the last we've heard of it.
Yeah. I just feel like, as far as if the comic book itself is still copyright because of all of the other elements,
right?
The text, the arrangement of the images, the other things that go into making a comic book. It's not just drawing the comic. So I feel like this is about as good as of a decision as was going to happen, because the bad decision would have gone oh, you can't even copyright the comic book, and it's well, I wrote the story. It's
yeah.
So
well, I think this is fine. Things still work for a comic book, and that's good. But I'm thinking for other things, this is not a great precedent if you're making digital art using one of these generators. You're still doing work to generate the images. So
yeah, I don't know. The only thing
we'll
the only thing I've ever used these things for is to make images making fun of people I don't like. So
yeah, fair enough.
Certain public intellectual cleans his room, that kind of thing.
Did it come out well? Did it work?
It does work, yes.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. Or certain public intellectual appears on Golden Girls, also quite funny.
Okay, good.
Anyway, I guess it's my turn now. I've just got two stories this week. They're kind of legal stories about tech and the law. There's a big not even big. There's 2 Supreme Court cases going on right now that people should look into, but I am not prepared to get into the weeds. I don't have the appropriate background for them, and I think the Verge and Hard Fork both did episodes on it this week. So go check that out, because those are related to content moderation, and I think they did a really good job. Mine are a little more in the weeds here. We got Google seems like they have destroyed some evidence in an antitrust case, but it's not like they went in and like deleted files or whatever. They essentially, there were people involved in this case who Google should have been saving their chat history, their message history, and internal messages, and the setting was set to not remember the internal messages, and the Department of Justice is not happy. They're asking the judge to issue sanctions, or asking the court to issue sanctions against Google for, not doing what they were supposed to do, essentially not saving chat history. It seems like the instant message history and stuff, it seems like kind of small potatoes, but in these kinds of cases, this is actually huge. This is how they do internal communications in these companies.
Yeah. Between
individuals. Matt, when you've worked at large enterprises, were you aware, or do you know whether or not like your messages were being logged and how long they were being kept for, and any of that stuff? Were you aware of any of that at the time?
Well, I knew they were being logged. Like they're always being logged, right? Occasionally I'd figure out like how long they're actually being saved for, because they'll send out some update to their policy and they'll just notify everybody at the company that we're saving logs for X amount of time or something, or your chat messages for X amount of time. And then usually with something like an addendum or something, like unless you're involved in some sort of ongoing court case, and then that maybe hold for longer periods of time. So, I mean, Google should have known about this. And it sounds like this was just like a policy that was in place. And I remember policies like this being in place at Google when I was working there. And it sounds like they just did not turn that off for all the right people, right?
Right. It's just a hit. They basically set the history off, and they should have just had it on for anybody that they knew was like related to this antitrust case, and they just didn't do that. Yep. I don't know if it was, maybe they did it on purpose.
I mean, it is possible they did it on purpose. I don't know, or it could have been totally on accident.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, they should be sanctioned for it, because I mean, they didn't do the right thing.
Right there. Yeah.
Even if it was not on purpose.
You'd think that as soon as you end up in a battle with the Department of Justice, that you start making sure that all the T's and all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted as it relates to any communication going on that might have anything to do with the Department of Justice, because that's the federal government Department of Justice. They have sweeping authority to do very bad things to you. So
yeah.
And and the courts probably aren't super happy about this stuff either. If it was a mistake, it was a mistake, and we'll see. Antitrust doesn't seem to be. There's not a lot of teeth to it these days, anyway. So I'm not really hopeful. Yeah. They may have a bigger problem with just this procedural thing than they end up having from the antitrust case itself. Europe's been a little bit better about this stuff. They've been handing out bigger verdicts, but I'm not hopeful. Anyway, my next story here is also just some legal crap. And this time it is really crap. It's Elon Musk. Elon Musk, if you remember, he got in trouble with the SEC. He basically was tweeting stuff out about Tesla and about share prices and stuff that pisses off the SEC, because they thought he was manipulating the stock price of Tesla. And so they had him have a little minder, like a little attorney that he had to run some of his tweets by if it was specifically related to Tesla and the stock. Elon wants out of that because he was found not guilty in a case about, if you remember, I'm going to take Tesla private at $4.20 a share. I have the funding. Well, he won that case, so he's trying to act like that was the only thing that caused the SEC to require him to run any specific Tesla stock tweets by an attorney, and they're like, that wasn't the only thing, sir. And so they said no, and good. Do you know much about this?
Well, I didn't know about this new thing where he was trying to get out of it, but I'm not surprised. And although I'm kind of surprised he actually had some argument, right? I thought he was I just want out of it, because that's kind of like how Elon is. Yeah, and the 420 thing, that tweet and the lawsuit and everything, I guess he technically won, but they dropped the lawsuit. It just sounded like they didn't have enough evidence. But he really should not have been.
No, he was
really
found.
Should not have tweeted that.
I mean, it went to trial. He was found not guilty.
Oh, they said not guilty?
Yeah, the jury trial.
Oh, okay. I thought they dropped the trial entirely, but fair enough.
But this wasn't the only time that the SEC thought that he was using Twitter to try to manipulate the Tesla stock price. So he had done other things. So they said no. That's the whole story, actually. Yeah,
pretty much. And he shouldn't be allowed to. And although from my impression is he was ignoring the guy anyways.
Yeah, that's
tweeting anyways.
That was a lot of the tech reporting I've been reading on it too. They said that it may as well not be there because he tweets all the time about Tesla and the stock price and how the company's doing. Although he may be running that stuff by the lawyer. Who knows?
Maybe.
I mean, if all he has to do is text, all he has to do is text the lawyer and say, "I'm going to tweet this," and the lawyer texts him back and says, "Okay." I mean that.
Yeah, it's his lawyer, right? Or is it?
Yeah, it's his own lawyer.
Yeah, I think it should be an SEC lawyer.
Oh, but you don't trust this guy to regulate himself?
No, not at all.
You can't even regulate his behavior. But it's whatever. These companies they're that's not that they're too big to fail. It's like that they're too big for the government to really do anything about, without the government like doing just incredibly draconian things to these companies, just taking just unreal amounts of money in fines or perp walking people for stuff. There's the government's, they're not going to be able to do anything to any of these companies. That's crazy town.
Yeah.
I think I was surprised when Elon wasn't convicted on the 420 thing, because that was clearly even if the intent wasn't to manipulate the stock, that doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. But, even though he was doing it as kind of a joke, like.
Oh, and the case was a civil case where some investors were suing him.
That's right. Okay.
So it wasn't like a criminal case. So but the jury did find in Elon's favor. So, and in this case, I guess the SEC is just, I don't know. Like I've seen him tweet all kinds of wild things about all about Tesla, but maybe it was so specific as to be meaningless. Maybe it has to be like specifically about the stock price. And so if he's just tweeting a bunch of wild shit about Tesla, even though there's a chance that it'll impact the stock price, if he's not specifically tweeting about the stock, maybe it doesn't apply. Maybe that's why we might think that we notice him tweeting all kind of wild shit about Tesla, and it doesn't seem to be run by a lawyer. But I don't know. Well, that's the show. I'll read us out this week, I think. That's okay. This has been How the Tech Are You? It's our weekly tech show here at Echoplex Media. Visit our website, echoplexmedia.com. And while you're there, check out the support tab. There's ways to support us there. And we're live every night, but Monday and Tuesday on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Have a great tech week.